Let's go live to Paris and to our correspondent Valérie Gorilla. Good morning to you, Valérie. Now, first, we had this announcement that those fuel tax rises were going to be temporarily suspended. Now they've been completely scrapped. Is this the end of the story?
Well, it doesn't look like it's the end of the story. Indeed, the saga has been going on for weeks, even for months, since the government reshuffling. But it all depends on what will happen in the street on Saturday in the following weeks. President Macron has been using his prime minister as a fuse, as a shield, even in order to see what how things would turn out with the protests and with the yellow vests. Now, how far can he go by using his prime minister as a fuse, which is a traditional way of working politics in France under the Fifth Republic? Well, how long can it last? Remains to be seen. There are speculations now, increasing speculations, by which yesterday's speech before the National Assembly could have been Edouard Philippe's last. So it might be hasty to jump to conclusions, but according to various commentators and even even relatives of the Prime Minister have unofficially said that his resignation could be in the books before Christmas or before the European elections.
Well, we've heard, as you said, that we've heard from the Prime Minister, we've heard from the Minister for the Environment. But what about President Macron? He's been silent relatively on this, hasn't he?
Well, Macron has been very quiet for a while. Now, he did speak last week, though briefly, but he remained silent since he came back from the G20 in Argentina. He's waiting to see what is going to happen, and once again relying on his prime minister to go to the front. On the other hand, he has an attitude which is a kind of very de Gaullean attitude or Bonapartist attitude, saying, well, you're messing around with my republic, you are attacking the symbols of the republic. We haven't heard from him, but we saw him walking around Avenue Kléber, where the devastation took place. We saw him going to the Arc de Triomphe and paying tribute to the unknown soldier. So basically he's telling people, I want to talk to you eventually, but I won't until, as long as you perpetrate these acts of violence. And this has been one of the mottos of the government and of the presidency. We cannot allow violence to be perpetrated in the name of a social discontent. So there is this attitude, but he will probably have to speak out and come out of his silence very soon, because public anger has not been quelled by yesterday's decisions.
Well, let's go straight to London and to Vincent McAviney, who's outside the Prime Minister's residence for us in Westminster. Good morning to you, Vincent. So now that we've got this legal advice from the British Attorney General, what has it actually changed in Parliament, this legal text?
Good morning, Belle. Well, the question mark here is, why did the government fight so much from publishing this legal text? Because most of what was in it was already known. As the Prime Minister was saying there, Geoffrey Cox had spelled out all of the issues around the backstop on Monday. They were, though, the people that wanted it, the hardcore Brexiteers, the DUP, just wanting absolute clarity on it. And we heard in that report, if it is eventually used, it is not a unilateral process to get out of the backstop. Both sides have to agree. Now, Nigel Dodds, who is the leader of the DUP, the Northern Irish Party, that was meant to be propping up Theresa May's government, giving them a majority, reacted instantly, saying it's devastating from the Attorney General. And he says, he's parroting the Prime Minister's words, saying no British Prime Minister would ever accept this. She's saying that no British Prime Minister should accept what is in that document. So the mood in Parliament is still very agitated. This release hasn't sort of built any support for Theresa May's cause. And really now all eyes are looking ahead to that vote next Tuesday. They've got another day of debate today on the economy, another day on Monday, and then a final day Tuesday before that vote. And it is looking incredibly difficult now for Theresa May.
Well, let's look ahead to that. But as you said, all this hasn't helped her cause. What does she still have that she might be able to pull out of the bag and try and save things in the next 5 days?
Well, Theresa May is still getting small groups of MPs, sort of 4 or 5 at a time, bringing them inside their number 10 Downing Street, trying to convince them of her case. But the reports are that that is not working anymore, that they think that she is weakened. And there are reports that as many as 100 MPs might vote down the government. And so cabinet members are apparently talking to Theresa May, saying to her, we need to delay this vote. They fear that if the government is defeated by that many, they think they could handle maybe around 50 or so, but if it was many as 100, then the government could be in danger of collapse, a no confidence motion being brought. So they are now urging the Prime Minister to try to delay the vote. There is also a suggestion that the whips are putting about to the Brexiteers, saying to them, if you want Brexit, you need to vote for Theresa May's deal because it's no longer guaranteed, and we'll try and bring an amendment which would see Parliament having some control over the backstop measures. So Theresa May facing another difficult day of debate in the Commons, and it still seems like she's on course to be defeated next Tuesday.
Since 15-year-old Alexis Grigoropoulos was shot dead by Greek police. The killing prompted widespread rioting and became a landmark case for the country's anti-austerity movement. Commemorations will take place in Athens today, and I'm joined from there now by our correspondent Faye Dulkeri. Good morning to you, Faye. Just explain to us why this case has become so symbolic for Greeks.
Yes, good morning from Athens. This case has become a landmark in Greece's recent history, as you said, mainly for two reasons. First of all, because it's a symbolic event for the people here that fight against police brutalities and against excessive force from the police. And the second reason is that many people think that this event is the main event that triggered the movement that later in the crisis and during the years of crisis was transformed into the anti-austerity form. Back in 2008, there was a chaotic situation created here in Athens during several days, with many cars burned, with many stores looted, and in general the center of the city was not accessible for many days. So in general we could say that these events then were against the government that lost the elections a few months later.
All right, Faye. And we've seen in these sorts of demonstrations in the past violence erupting. Is that what we might expect today as well?
Yes, since then and every year there are clashes between anarchists and extreme leftists with the police. This year is expected to be even more intense because all this is considered as a test for the government of Alexis Tsipras that is not so popular any longer among the leftist groups. And we have to say that there's tension in the movement of the students. The movement is divided because of the name deal with FYROM.